Part 1, We Found You, 2:07 a.m. The first sound wasn't loud. It was wet, like something dragging across concrete outside my window. I remember checking the time. 2:07 a.m. I hadn't slept. I hadn't even tried. There's something about 2 a.m. that makes the world feel abandoned, like everyone else has left you behind. The air changes. The silence thickens. And that night, it felt heavier than usual. My house sits at the edge of town. Behind it, about 50 yards out, there's a narrow tree line that leads down to an old drainage lake. It used to be a quarry decades ago. Now it's just black water surrounded by dead reeds and broken fencing. Nobody goes there, except sometimes I hear things from that direction, like water moving when there's no wind, or footsteps on gravel. That night, it sounded like something was being dragged slowly toward the water. I told myself it was nothing. Stray dog, loose tarp, wind. I closed the blinds. That's when I made the mistake. 2:14 a.m., I go looking. I couldn't sleep. I hadn't slept properly in days. Work was remote, no schedule, too much caffeine, too much screen time. And when you're alone long enough, your brain starts craving something new, something dangerous, something stimulating. I'd heard about the deep web before. Hidden forums, private boards, unindexed sites, stuff you don't find through Google. Usually boring, sometimes illegal, sometimes fake, sometimes not. I don't know what pushed me that night. Maybe the silence, maybe the sound near the lake, maybe curiosity. But at 2:14 a.m., I downloaded Tor. I told myself it was just to look, just to explore, just to kill time. That's what everyone tells themselves. 2:36 a.m., the forum. Most of what I found was garbage. Dead links, scam markets, conspiracy boards, recycled creepypasta. Then I found a directory page. Plain HTML, black background, red hyperlinks. No logo, no banner, just a list. Most threads were locked. One wasn't. It was titled, We Found You. No author name, no replies listed, no timestamp, just that title. I almost laughed. It screamed ARG, edgy nonsense. I clicked it anyway. 2:41 a.m., the first post. The page loaded slowly. Black background, red text. No avatars, no formatting, just a single line. You shouldn't be here. I smirked. Okay, I muttered. Spooky. Then the page refreshed by itself. Another line appeared. It's 2:41 a.m. where you are. My stomach tightened. Coincidence. Time zones. Basic scripting. I checked my taskbar. 2:41 a.m. Still, that didn't mean anything. Then another line appeared. Slowly, like someone typing, letter by letter. The blinds are closed. I froze. My eyes shifted toward the window. They were closed. But that's not rare. Most people close blinds at night. I leaned closer to the screen. Cute, I whispered. Then the next line appeared. The lake is louder tonight. The dragging sound replayed in my head. I didn't type anything. There was no comment box. No input field, just text appearing in real time. 2:53 a.m., room description. I should have left. That would have been normal. Instead, I kept watching. The thread updated again. Your desk is facing the wall. True. There's a coffee mug on the right side. True. It says world's okayest employee. My hand knocked the mug over. Coffee splashed across the desk. My heart started pounding. That mug wasn't visible from the window. Nobody could see it from outside. And I hadn't posted anywhere about it. I checked the URL. It hadn't changed. I checked the HTML source. Nothing obvious. Just static page code. Then the thread updated again. Don't spill it. My breathing became shallow. This wasn't pre-recorded text. It reacted. In real time. 3:05 a.m., the scar. I stood up. My chair scraped loudly against the floor. The house creaked in response. Old wood, Old pipes. Old everything. The lake outside went silent. Completely silent. When I sat back down, another line appeared. Sit. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until I exhaled. Then, your left forearm. 3-inch scar. From when you were 9. I physically grabbed my arm. I never post pictures. My social media is private. That scar is faint. It's not something you'd guess. My chest felt tight. I whispered, "This isn't real." Then I heard it, a soft sound, from the hallway, like someone stepping on old floorboards. 3:17 a.m. The text appeared before I checked the clock. 3:17 a.m. I slowly looked down. 3:17 a.m. Then, don't check the door. The hallway creaked again. My bedroom door was closed. I stared at it. My pulse was so loud I could hear it in my ears. Don't check the door. I stood up anyway. Every step toward the door felt heavy. The house was cold, colder than before. I placed my hand on the knob, turned it slowly. The door opened. The hallway light was off. But the door at the end of the hall, the one that leads to the back patio toward the lake, it was slightly open, just a few inches. I always lock it. Always. A thin draft slid down the hallway. It smelled like wet dirt, like lake water. I stepped forward, then stopped, because I realized something. If someone was inside, I was walking toward them. I backed up instead, closed my bedroom door, locked it, then ran back to my computer. 3:21 a.m. Curiosity always wins. The screen had updated. Curiosity always wins. Under it, you looked. My Wi-Fi icon dropped. No internet connection. But the page was still updating. Still typing. Letter by letter. You invited us when you clicked. I grabbed my phone. No signal. Not even emergency bars. That's not how cell towers work. That's not how Wi-Fi works. This was impossible. I unplugged my router. The website continued typing. That won't help. Then something happened that made my blood run cold. The green light beside my webcam flicked on. I hadn't opened any camera app. I hadn't given permission. The screen flickered. And then a video window appeared. Blurry. Low resolution. It took me 3 seconds to understand what I was seeing. It was my room. From behind me, I could see the back of my chair, the back of my head, the closed bedroom door. I didn't move, because if I moved, I would see myself move. In the feed, behind me, the angle wasn't from my webcam. It was too high, too far back. It looked like it was filmed from the corner of the ceiling. I live alone. There are no cameras in my room. The text appeared again. Don't turn around. End of part 1 cliffhanger. The video feed sharpened slightly, and I saw something in the corner of the frame, near my door. A shape, not a monster, not exaggerated, just a darker shape against the dark, standing still, right behind me, and then the screen typed, "We're closer to the water than you think." Part 2, 3:33 a.m. never moves. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. My body locked in place, hands gripping the edge of my desk, so tightly my fingers hurt. The video feed on my screen showed the back of my head, my shoulders, my door, and that shape, standing there, still, not moving, not breathing, just existing. The screen flickered, the image distorted, the shape blurred, then disappeared. The text began typing again. You hesitate. My throat was dry. This is a trick. I whispered. I forced myself to think. Webcam hack. Deepfake overlay. Malware injection. Someone accessed my camera. Someone spoofed a background layer. There had to be a rational explanation. Then the next line appeared. We are not in your room. A pause. Not yet. A cold draft slid across the back of my neck. And I realized something that made my stomach drop. The air felt damp, like it does near the lake. 3:28 a.m. Logic fails. I reached for my keyboard. There was still no input box. No reply field. Nothing to interact with. Just a thread. Updating. Watching. The Wi-Fi icon still showed disconnected. My router was unplugged. I checked the cable. Physically pulled it from the wall. The page kept loading new lines. You're trying to understand how this works. You're thinking about malware. You're thinking about cameras. You haven't considered sound. That last line made my breathing stop. Sound? As if on cue. A faint noise echoed from outside. Not in the hallway. Not in the house. Outside. Toward the back. Toward the lake. It wasn't dragging this time. It was splashing. Slow. Heavy. Like someone stepping into shallow water. Then stepping out. Then and again. I stood up so fast my chair fell backward. The video feed on my screen showed it happen from behind. I watched myself stand. Watched myself freeze. The angle didn't change. Which meant whoever filmed that wasn't holding the camera. It was mounted. Somewhere. High. Permanent. 3:33 a.m. The screen typed. 3:33 a.m. I looked at my clock. 3:33 a.m. The seconds weren't moving. I stared at it for 5 seconds. 10. Still 3:33. My heart hammered in my chest. That's not possible. I grabbed my phone again. Still no signal. The time read 3:33 a.m. Frozen. The entire world had paused at that exact minute, except the website. The text continued. Time is thinner near water. You live 52 yards from it. 52? I had never measured that. I swallowed hard. The splashing outside stopped. Silence replaced it. Heavy. Oppressive. Then another sound. Footsteps. On gravel. Coming closer to the house. The patio door. I couldn't stay in my room. If someone was outside, if someone had mounted a camera, I needed to know. I slowly opened my bedroom door again. The hallway was darker now. Colder. I could see faint moisture along the wooden floorboards, like condensation, or wet footprints that had already begun to dry. I moved quietly, each step deliberate. When I reached the end of the hallway, I saw the patio door clearly. It was open wider now, about a foot. The curtains shifted gently from the night breeze. I hadn't touched it. I knew I hadn't. Hello? My voice cracked. No response. Just the distant sound of water moving. I stepped closer. The smell hit me first. Wet soil. Algae. Lake water. I looked down. There were faint marks on the floor near the threshold. Not clear footprints. More like smudges. As if something damp had brushed against the wood. I locked the patio door. Pulled it shut completely. Double-checked it. Then turned around. And nearly screamed. Because I thought someone was standing in the hallway. But it was just my reflection. In the dark TV screen, mounted on the wall. I was shaking. The path. I went back to my room. The screen had updated again. You secured the door. That was wise. A pause. It won't matter. Under it, a new block of text appeared. Coordinates. My IP address. My city. Then, there's a path behind your fence. My stomach dropped. There was. It's not visible from the street. A narrow dirt trail cutting through the tree line, leading straight down to the lake. Kids used it years ago. I haven't walked it since I moved in. The next line appeared. You should go see it. No. I backed away from the desk. The clock still read 3:33 a.m. Frozen. Someone already did. The splashing started again. Closer this time. Much closer. The neighbor. There was one person awake at odd hours. My neighbor, Mr. Halpern. Retired. Insomniac. Sometimes his porch light stayed on until dawn. I rushed to the front window. Pulled the curtain slightly. His porch light was on. Relief flooded through me. I grabbed my phone again. Still no signal. Landline. I ran to the kitchen. Picked it up. Dead. Completely dead. The splashing stopped. Replaced by silence again. Then, a faint knock. 3 taps. From the back of the house. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just 3 slow knocks. I froze. The website updated. Don't answer. My chest tightened. I didn't move. Another 3 knocks. This time softer. Almost patient. 3:33 still. I looked at the microwave clock. 3:33. The oven clock, 3:33. Every device frozen, except the forum. I walked back to my bedroom like I was moving underwater. The screen now showed something new. A still image. The dirt path behind my house. Taken from above. Like drone footage. The timestamp in the corner. 3:33 a.m. And in the image, a dark shape near the tree line. Standing at the entrance of the path. Facing my house. The text typed. It remembers the last one. The last one? My mind raced. Then I remembered something Mr. Halpern once said. 2 weeks after I moved in, we were both getting the mail. He looked at me and said quietly, "Don't go near that lake at night." I laughed it off. He didn't. He added, "Kid drowned there 5 years ago. They never found him." At the time, I assumed it was just local tragedy. But now, the thread updated. He knocked too. My throat closed. Who knocked? The drowned kid? No. No fantasy. No monsters. Stay logical. This is human. Someone is doing this. Someone is outside. Someone hacked my system. The webcam light flickered again. The live feed returned. This time, the angle shifted. It wasn't my room. It was outside, the back of my house, near the patio, filmed from ground level. Water glistened on the deck boards. Like something had just stepped there, the text appeared. "You're closer to us than you think." The disappearance. A new post appeared in the thread. Different formatting. Like an older archived message. Dated 5 years ago. It read, "He clicked to. He walked the path. He said he heard splashing. He said someone was calling his name. He never came back. My breathing became uneven. The drowned kid. This wasn't random. This was a pattern. And I had just joined it. The splashing stopped completely. Then, silence so deep it hurt my ears. The forum typed one final line for the night. "It's your turn to walk." Then the screen went black. The webcam light stayed on. And in the reflection of my dark monitor, I saw it, just for a second, a faint wet outline on my bedroom floor, like footprints leading from the door toward me, and the clock still said 3:33 a.m. End of part 2 cliffhanger. As I stare at the frozen time, the microwave suddenly beeped. Once, the clock changed, 3:34 a.m., and my phone vibrated for the first time all night. One notification. Unknown number. Message preview. Why didn't you come outside? Part 3. The path behind the fence. My phone was still vibrating in my hand. Unknown number. No caller ID. No preview image. Just a message. Why didn't you come outside? The time on my phone now read 3:34 a.m. It was moving again. 1 second. 2. 3. The microwave clock matched it. The oven too. Everything had resumed like nothing happened. Except my Wi-Fi was still dead. And the deep web page was still open. Black screen. No new text. I typed a reply before I could stop myself. Who is this? The message showed as sent. Delivered instantly, even though I had no signal bars. 3 dots appeared. Typing. My heart began to pound again. The reply came through. You heard us. A chill slid down my spine. Us. Plural. I swallowed hard. This isn't funny. Typing again. Longer this time. Then, the water is patient. You shouldn't ignore it. I didn't respond. I turned the phone face down on my desk. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the deep web page flickered back to life. The red text returned. You chose not to walk. A pause. So we walked instead. The splashing started again. But not from the lake. From my backyard. Closer. 3:41 a.m. The backyard. I told myself not to look. Every instinct screamed to stay in my room. Lock the door. Call the police. But something about the message bothered me. So we walked instead. Slowly. I moved toward the back of the house again. The hallway felt colder than before. The air heavier. The patio door was still locked. Still shut. But the curtains were wet. Actually wet. Dark patches soaking into the fabric. I stepped closer. Pressed my fingers against the glass. Cold. On the other side, I saw movement. Not fast. Not aggressive. Just slow, shifting near the ground, like someone crouched low, breathing. I leaned closer to the glass. The porch light flicked on by itself, and the movement stopped. Nothing there, just the deck. Empty, except the wood was soaked, like water had been poured across it, and there were streaks, long streaks, leading from the edge of the deck toward the fence, toward the narrow path in the trees. The path. I shouldn't have done what I did next, but fear doesn't always make you freeze. Sometimes it makes you chase answers. I grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer, unlocked the patio door, stepped outside. The air hit me immediately, cold, damp, carrying that thick lake smell, the kind that sticks to your throat. The porch light flickered again, then stabilized. The deck boards were wet beneath my shoes. Not puddles, just a thin film of water. I moved slowly toward the fence gate. It was slightly open. I know I locked it earlier that evening. I remember because the latch sticks. You have to push it twice. Now it hung loose. The dirt path beyond it looked darker than usual. The trees swayed gently, but there was no wind, just that faint sound again. Splash, pause, splash, like someone shifting weight in shallow water. I raised the flashlight. The beam cut through the trees, and that's when I saw it, at the far end of the path, near the opening by the lake. A shape, standing still, human height, not exaggerated, not distorted, just a silhouette, watching. Don't go down there. Hello, I called out. My voice sounded smaller than I expected. The shape didn't respond, didn't move. It just stood there. I took one step forward. The beam flickered. The shape was gone, completely gone. No running footsteps, no branches snapping, nothing, just the sound of water shifting. Then, a voice behind me. You shouldn't go down there. I nearly jumped out of my skin. I spun around. Mr. Halpern stood by the fence, wearing a robe, holding a flashlight of his own. His face looked pale. You saw it too? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. He just looked past me, down the path, then back at me. It's late, he said quietly. Go inside. Someone's out there, I whispered. He shook his head slowly. No one's supposed to be. That answer didn't comfort me. What do you mean, supposed to be? He hesitated, then sighed. 5 years ago, after the boy drowned, people started reporting things. Knocking, wet footprints, late night calls. My chest tightened. The boy? They never found him, Halpern said, just his bike near the trees. The exact place I had just seen the silhouette. I swallowed hard. You think someone's messing with me? Halpern looked uneasy. You live in his house. My stomach dropped. What? He nodded slowly. The family moved out after it happened. You know. No, I didn't. No one mentioned that. The realtor never said anything. Halpern leaned closer. And the boy, he was always on his computer. My breath caught. What does that have to do with anything? He told his parents someone was talking to him online. The lake went silent, completely silent. Halpern's flashlight flickered, then went out. Mine followed. Pitch black. No stars. No moonlight. Just darkness swallowing everything. And then a whisper from the direction of the lake. Soft, childlike. Why didn't you come? Halpern grabbed my arm. Inside. Now. Back inside. We rushed back toward the house. The porch light was off again. I locked the patio door behind us, my hands shaking. Halpern stood in the kitchen, breathing heavily. You need to stop going online at night, he said. You don't even know what I was doing. I don't need to. That sentence chilled me more than the whisper. I led him to my room. The deep web page was still open, red text glowing against black. Halpern stepped closer, squinted. What is that? Before I could answer, the screen updated. Welcome back. A new line appeared beneath it. You brought him. Halpern stiffened. Did you type that? No. Another line appeared. He remembers the water. Halpern stepped back like he'd been slapped. Turn it off, he muttered. I can't. The power button didn't respond. The cursor wouldn't move. The thread continued typing. He told you not to go near it. Halpern's breathing grew uneven. You need to shut this down. Then the webcam light flicked on again. The live feed returned, this time showing both of us. From behind, Halpern saw it too. He gasped, "That's not your camera angle." "I know." The feed zoomed slightly, closer to the door, and in the reflection, we both saw it. Water, pooling slowly under the bedroom door, seeping inward. But when we turned, the floor was dry, completely dry. The screen typed. "It's easier the second time." Halpern whispered something under his breath. "What does that mean?" I asked. He didn't answer, because his phone started ringing. Unknown number. He stared at it, didn't pick up. It stopped. Then my phone buzzed again. New message. He should have stayed inside 5 years ago. My heart stopped. Halpern slowly looked at me. "I never told you how the boy died." My voice felt trapped in my chest. "You said he drowned." Halpern nodded. "That's what the report said." A long pause. "But the lake's only waist deep near the shore." Cold realization spread through me. "You think someone—" "I think," Halpern interrupted, "someone was meeting him down there." The deep web thread updated again. He walked into the water. We told him not to turn around. My hands began to shake uncontrollably. Halpern backed toward the door. "I'm going home," he said suddenly. "What? You can't just—" "You need to stay away from that path." He opened my bedroom door, paused, then looked back at me. "If you hear knocking, don't answer." And he left. I followed him into the hallway, watched him step out the front door, watched his porch light across the street flicker on again as he went inside. For a moment, I felt relief. I wasn't alone in this anymore. Someone else saw it. Someone else heard it. Then my phone buzzed again. Another message. Unknown number. He won't answer next time either. I ran to the front window. Halpern's porch light flickered violently, then went dark. Completely dark. His entire house. Black. I tried calling him. No answer. The deep web page updated. Someone close to you disappears. My throat closed. No. I grabbed my jacket, keys, ran outside, crossed the street, banged on Halpern's door. No response. I tried the knob. Unlocked. The door creaked open. His house was silent, cold, and smelled faintly like Lake Watered Out Part 4, the house that already knew. The dripping wasn't loud. It was steady, deliberate, like someone letting water fall one drop at a time into a metal sink. Halpern's living room was dark, except for the glow of his laptop. Black screen, red text, the exact same layout as mine. Minimal, old, no branding, just that single sentence. "You finally followed the path." My throat tightened. I whispered, but I had, just not all the way to the lake. The air inside his house felt wrong. Too humid, too cold at the same time. The kind of damp that creeps under your clothes. Another drip echoed from deeper inside the house. Kitchen, maybe, or hallway. I stepped inside slowly. The front door creaked shut behind me on its own. I didn't touch it. I turned quickly. It was closed, locked. My pulse spiked. "Mr. Halpern?" I called out. No response. Only the dripping. The laptop. I moved toward the coffee table. His laptop screen flickered. The page refreshed. New text began typing. "He told you not to go near it." He did not listen either. My eyes scanned the room. There were water stains on the carpet. Faint, irregular, like footprints that had dried halfway. They led toward the hallway. The dripping sound grew clearer. Metallic echo. Kitchen sink. I swallowed hard and followed the trail. Each step felt like I was moving through someone else's dream. Halpern's house had always felt tidy, organized. Now it felt disturbed, not messy, just wrong. The hallway walls had faint moisture streaks on them, as if condensation had formed and then slid downward. I reached the kitchen entrance and froze. The sink faucet was on, barely, a thin stream of water dripping into a basin that was already overflowing. But that wasn't what stopped me. It was a floor, completely soaked. Water spread across the tile. And the back door, the one leading toward the lake from his property, was wide open. Cold air flowed in steadily, carrying that familiar smell. Algae, wet earth, still water. You shouldn't have brought him. The laptop chimed from the living room. A notification sound. I stepped backward, almost slipping on the tile. When I returned to the coffee table, the text had updated again. You should not have brought him into it. I didn't bring him into anything. I whispered. You opened the door. The webcam light on Halpern's laptop flicked on. A live feed window appeared. It showed his kitchen. From above, high angle, like mine, the sink, the open back door, the wet floor. But I was in the frame, which meant the camera wasn't on the laptop. It was mounted somewhere else. My breathing became shallow. The feed zoomed slightly toward the back door, and just beyond it, at the edge of the yard, I saw movement. A shadow crossing the fence line, heading toward the path. I stepped toward the doorway. The dripping stopped instantly. The water in the sink stopped flowing. The house went silent. Then the text updated again. He followed. My stomach dropped. Followed who? No answer. Only a new line. You are repeating him. The boy, on the coffee table, beside the laptop, was a stack of old mail, bills, magazines, and underneath, a newspaper clipping. Yellowed, 5 years old. Headline, Local teen missing near Old Quarry Lake. The article mentioned his name, Evan Mercer, age 15. Last seen at 3 a.m. Neighbors reported seeing lights near the water. Parents claimed he'd been talking to someone online. Police found his bike at the trail entrance. No body recovered. I stared at the timestamp printed in the article. 3:33 a.m. My chest tightened. The deep web page refreshed again. He clicked. He walked. He heard knocking. My vision blurred slightly. Where's Halpern? I whispered. The screen responded. He answered. A heavy thud echoed from upstairs. Not loud, but unmistakable. Footsteps followed. Slow, dragging slightly. My blood ran cold. Halpern had gone upstairs when I arrived, or had something else. I stepped into the hallway. The staircase loomed ahead. Dark. Every instinct screamed to leave, but something stronger pulled me upward. If Halpern was up there, if he needed help, I couldn't just run. I started climbing. Each step creaked loudly. The air grew colder the higher I went. Halfway up, I noticed something on the wall. Finger streaks. Wet, like someone had run their hand along the paint. The smell intensified. Lake water. Stale, rotting plants. I reached the top step. The hallway upstairs was pitch black. One door at the end slightly open. Faint light flickering inside. Television glow. I moved toward it slowly. Mr. Halpern? No response. Just that faint static flicker. I pushed the door open and stopped breathing. The room was empty, but the television was on. Black screen, red text, same forum, same thread, the words typing in real time. You came upstairs. He did too. I scanned the room. There was no Halpern, no signs of struggle, no overturned furniture, nothing broken, but the carpet was damp, cold water soaking into the fibers, and leading to the closet. The closet door was closed, completely shut. The text on the screen updated again. Don't open it. My pulse pounded in my ears. This was the same pattern. Don't check the door. Don't open it. Don't go down the path. Curiosity always wins. I stepped closer. The carpet squished faintly under my shoe. Water seeped around the edges. I reached for the closet handle. My hand trembled. The television flickered violently. The red text flashed. He opened it. I pulled the door open. Empty. The closet was empty. Dry. No water. No Halpern. Just hanging coats. Shoeboxes. Dust. I exhaled sharply. Relief hit me for half a second. Then I heard it. From downstairs. The front door opening. Slowly. Deliberately. I ran back toward the stairs. Looked down. The front door was wide open now. Cold night air spilling inside. The laptop screen glowing from the living room. but the house was empty, completely empty. Halpern was gone. I rushed down the stairs, nearly slipped on the wet steps. When I reached the living room, the laptop text had changed. Someone close to you disappears. My heart sank. No! The page refreshed. New line. You were warned. I ran outside, crossed the yard, looked toward the lake. The path was darker than ever. The trees still. No wind, no sound, except a faint splash from deep within the trees. And then a second splash, further away, as if someone was walking slowly into deeper water. The message. My phone vibrated again. I looked down. Unknown number. New message. He walked further than you did. I felt dizzy. I tried calling emergency services. This time it rang. Once. Twice. Then cut off. No signal again. The deep web page updated once more. You still haven't turned around. My body went rigid. Turn around? I was outside, facing the lake. Slowly, very slowly, I turned. My house stood behind me. Dark windows. Silent, but in my bedroom window, I saw light, the glow of my monitor, and a shape, standing inside my room, looking out at me, watching. The text appeared on my phone screen without opening any app. It's easier when you're outside. The realization, this wasn't random harassment. This wasn't just hacking. This was coordinated. Someone knew the layout of both houses. Someone knew the history. Someone had access to cameras, mounted somewhere, hidden, watching for years. The drowned boy, Halpern, now me. The lake wasn't haunted. It was a stage, and someone was directing it. My phone buzzed again. Final message for the night. Go home. I looked toward Halpern's house. Dark, silent, then back at mine. Bedroom light still on, shape still visible. Unmoving, waiting. The deep web page refreshed one last time. You invited us when you clicked. He invited us 5 years ago. The water keeps what it's given. The splashing from the lake grew louder, closer, not distant anymore, closer to shore, closer to the path. And then, from behind me, I heard footsteps on gravel, right at the entrance of the trail. Part 5. The shoreline. The footsteps behind me stopped. Not faded, not retreated. Stopped, right at the edge of the path. Close enough that I could hear breathing. Slow, measured, human. My entire body felt locked in place. If I turned around, I would see whoever was there. If I didn't, I'd never know how close they were. My phone screen lit up again. No notification sound. Just text appearing directly over my home screen. Don't run. The lake in front of me made a soft movement. Water touching shore. Then pulling back. Then touching again. Like it was inhaling. I swallowed hard. This is a person, I whispered to myself. Just a person. Someone with cameras. Someone with tech. Someone who had done this before. The drowned boy wasn't taken by the water. He was taken by whoever was using it. My phone vibrated. Walk. A single word. I took one step forward. The gravel shifted loudly under my shoe. Behind me, the other footsteps matched mine. One step. Pause. One step. Pause. They weren't rushing me. They weren't chasing. They were guiding. Down the path. The trees swallowed most of the light from the houses. By the time I reached the midpoint of the trail, the world behind me felt gone. No porch lights. No street. No Halpern's house. Just trees. And the lake ahead. The smell intensified. Wet moss. Algae. Still water that hadn't moved properly in years. My flashlight flickered, then stabilized. The beam landed on something near the base of a tree. A bicycle. Old. Rust creeping along the frame. Half sunken into the dirt. I stepped closer. There was a faded sticker on the handlebar. A name scratched into it. Evan. My throat tightened. This was his bike. Left here 5 years ago. Untouched. The police must have missed it. Or someone moved it back. My phone buzzed again. You're almost where he stood. I didn't look back, but I could still hear the breathing. Closer now. Less distance between our steps. The shore, the trees opened suddenly. The lake stretched out in front of me. Black, flat, reflecting nothing. No moon, no stars, just void. The shoreline was muddy. Thin ripples disturbed the surface, as if something beneath it had shifted. I stopped walking. The footsteps behind me stopped too. The breathing paused. I forced myself to speak. "What do you want?" Silence. Then my phone vibrated again. "Turn around slowly." The same words. From the thread. From my room. From earlier. My heart pounded in my chest. "No." The word came out weak. My phone buzzed again. He said no too. My vision blurred slightly. "Stay logical. Stay grounded. This is psychological manipulation. They want fear. They want compliance." I clenched my fists. I'm not turning around. The lake made a deeper sound this time. Not a splash. A shift, like weight pressing into water. Behind me, the breathing stopped completely. No footsteps. No gravel. Nothing. The absence of sound was worse than the noise. The phone screen glowed again. We already did. The camera. A light flickered to my right. Not bright. Just a small LED blink. I turned my head slightly. There, mounted low on a tree trunk. A camera. Weatherproof. Dark casing. Pointed directly at the shoreline. At me. My stomach dropped. I scanned the area. Another one on a branch above. Another near the ground. Half hidden in mud. They weren't random. They were positioned carefully. Angles overlapping. Covering the entire clearing. Someone had built a network here. Watching. Recording. For years. My breathing became uneven. "This is illegal," I whispered. No response. But the lake's surface shifted again. A ripple expanding outward. Not from the center. From near the shore, right in front of me, the water bulged slightly. Then settled. My mind raced. Someone could be under there. Breathing through something. Waiting. The phone vibrated again. He stepped closer. I looked down. My shoes were inches from the water. I hadn't realized I'd moved. Behind me, there was no breathing anymore. No presence. Just empty air. I forced myself to turn around. Slowly. Carefully. The path behind me was empty. No one there. No shadow. No movement. Just trees. And silence. The object in the water. The lake made another small sound. I looked back. Something floated near the surface. Dark, irregular shape, drifting closer. I stepped back instinctively. The object bumped gently against the mud near my feet. I aimed my flashlight at it and felt my stomach flip. It was a backpack, waterlogged, black fabric, zippers rusted, one strap torn. There was a faint embroidered name stitched near the top. Yam. Evan Mercer. The phone buzzed again. He dropped it when he heard us behind him. My hand shook violently. This wasn't random harassment. This wasn't coincidence. Someone had staged this. Someone had kept evidence. Someone was recreating it. For me, the lake's surface shifted again. Closer, as if something had moved beneath it. Then, a sound, not from the water, from the path. Footsteps, fast this time, rushing toward me. I spun around. Nothing there, but the sound continued. Circling, branches snapping, leaves crunching, multiple directions. More than one person. My heart slammed in my chest. This isn't funny. I shouted into the trees. Silence. Then, from somewhere deeper in the forest, a voice, clear, young. "Why didn't you turn around?" My breath caught painfully in my throat. No fantasy creatures. No monsters. Just a voice. Human. Close. Mocking. The phone screen flickered again. A live video opened automatically. It showed me, standing at the shoreline, filmed from above, drone footage. The timestamp read 3:33 a.m., but my phone clock read 4:12 a.m. Time was out of sync again. The video zoomed slightly, toward the water, toward my feet, and in the reflection, I saw it, a second shape, standing behind me, just inches away. But when I turned, there was nothing there. The panic. Adrenaline hit me all at once. I grabbed the soaked backpack and ran. Back toward the path. Back toward the houses. Branches scraped my arms. Mud splashed onto my jeans. Behind me, the footsteps followed. Fast, matching my pace. Then gaining. My phone vibrated violently in my hand. Message after message flooding in. Don't run. You're leaving the cameras. He ran too. He slipped. My foot caught on something. I stumbled hard. Fell into the dirt. The backpack flew from my hand. My flashlight rolled away. Part 6. The closet isn't empty. The house was too quiet. Not normal quiet. Not middle of the night. Quiet. It felt held. Like the air itself was waiting for something. The wet footprints ended right at my bedroom door. They didn't trail back out. They didn't fade. They stopped at the threshold. My phone buzzed again in my shaking hand. You didn't look the first time. The closet, 5 years ago, in Halpern's house. He opened it. Empty. That's what the thread said. But the water had been real. The cameras had been real. The bike had been real. I swallowed hard and stepped into my bedroom. The monitor glow painted everything red. The deep web thread was still open. Typing. You're thinking about logic again. You want this to be hacking. You want this to be pranksters. You don't want this to be local. Local. That word hit harder than anything else. Because that meant proximity. Not anonymous strangers across the world. Someone nearby. Someone who could walk here. The closet door was closed. I was certain I left it slightly open earlier. Certain. My breathing became shallow. I approached it slowly. The floor squished faintly under my step. Wet. Still wet. I could smell lake water again. Stronger than before. My phone vibrated. Open it all the way. My hand hovered over the knob. My reflection stared back at me from the dark metal. I turned it. Slowly. The door creaked open. Not empty. At first, it looked normal. Clothes hanging. Shoes at the bottom. Storage bin in the corner. Dry. Completely dry. I exhaled sharply. Then I noticed something. One of the shirts was swaying. Very slightly. There was no breeze. No fan on. No open window. Just a subtle movement. Back and forth. I stepped closer. The movement stopped. Silence. I pushed the hanging clothes aside. My hand hit something solid behind them. Not the wall. Something cold. Metal. I shoved the shirts further. And found it. A small black box mounted to the back wall. Wires running through a drilled hole into the drywall. Tiny LED blinking. Recording. My knees nearly gave out. There was a camera in my closet. Not a hidden spy cam placed casually. Professionally mounted. Hardwired. Permanent. The thread updated. Now you see one. One. My heart pounded. I scanned the room. Ceiling corners. Smoke detector. Air vent. The vent. I stepped onto my chair and pulled the vent cover down. Another device inside. Smaller, but active. Watching. Recording. My phone buzzed again. He found them too. Evan. The drowned boy. He'd been watched. Documented. Tracked. This wasn't random stalking. This was infrastructure. Years old. Maintained. The deep web thread continued. The lake is only the stage. The house is a real trap. My breathing became erratic. How many? I whispered. The screen answered. Enough. The realization. Someone had access to my house before I moved in. Before Halpern warned me. Before I clicked the thread. This wasn't triggered tonight. Tonight just activated it. The message earlier replayed in my head. You invited us when you clicked. Not physically invited. Digitally. Access granted. Maybe malware didn't start it. But it unlocked something. The webcam light flicked on again. But this time it wasn't showing my room. It was showing something else. A feed from one of the outdoor cameras near the lake. Grainy night vision. Green tint. The shoreline. Empty. Then movement. A figure stepped into frame. Hooded. Face obscured. Carrying something. Long. Heavy. Dragging it toward the water. My stomach twisted. It wasn't struggling. It wasn't moving on its own. But it was human-shaped. I felt like I was going to vomit. The timestamp read, 5 years ago. Archive footage. The thread typed slowly. You wanted realism. Here it is. The figure reached the shoreline, stopped, looked directly into the camera, as if aware of being recorded, then dragged the shape into the water. No struggle, no splash, just steady movement, until both disappeared beneath the surface. The screen froze. I couldn't breathe. That's fake, I whispered. It has to be. The phone vibrated violently. It wasn't deep enough to drown alone. Halpern's words echoed in my mind, waist deep near shore, which meant the drowning was an accident. The lake wasn't haunted. It was convenient. The network, the deep web thread updated again. A map appeared. Satellite view of my neighborhood. Red dots scattered around. My house. Halpern's house. The path. The shoreline. 3 other houses near the lake. Each marked. Each labeled with dates. Some recent. Some years old. My pulse spiked. How many? I whispered again. The screen answered. You're not the first replacement. Replacement? The word hit me like a physical blow. Replacement for what? For who? Evan? Halpern? The thread typed again. Every 5 years. My chest tightened. 5 years ago, Evan. Now, me. My phone buzzed. New message. He thought he was being recruited. Recruited? My mind flashed back. The thread title. We found you. Not random. Selective. Curated. They didn't post on search engines. They waited for certain users, certain patterns, certain activity. I remembered what I'd searched earlier that night. Sleep deprivation forums, urban isolation, lake drowning statistics, curiosity breadcrumbs. They weren't targeting randomly. They were filtering, profiling, then inviting. The lake wasn't about ghosts. It was about control, fear conditioning, psychological manipulation. Lure them to the shoreline, record everything, remove them, replace them. The webcam feed shifted again, now showing inside my room. From the closet camera, I was standing in front of it, staring directly into the lens. Behind me, the bedroom door slowly moved, just a few inches. I didn't hear it, but the video showed it clearly. Opening. The thread typed, "Don't turn around." My heart slammed in my chest. Footsteps behind me. Inside my room. Real. Heavy. Measured. Not water sounds. Not whispers. Actual weight on wood. I forced myself not to spin around. Adrenaline surged. This was the moment. The confrontation. Not paranormal. Not impossible. Human. Very human. The phone buzzed again. He turned. My breathing became ragged. Sweat ran down my back. The footsteps stopped. Right behind me. Close enough to feel warmth. Close enough to hear breathing. Different from before. Steadier. Older. The thread. Type one final line. It's easier when you see them. My body moved before my brain could stop it. I turned. Nothing. The room was empty. Completely empty. Door closed. Floor dry. No one there. My heart felt like it was going to explode. I spun in a full circle. Closet open. Vent exposed. No one. But the closet camera feed still showed something behind me. A shape. Standing where I had just turned from. Not distorted. Not shadowy. Just a man. Wearing dark clothing. Face partially visible. And he was looking directly into the closet lens. Not at me. At the camera. Like he knew it was there. Like he wanted to be recorded. The thread typed again. Turn around slowly. The same words. Again, my stomach dropped. The man in the camera feed tilted his head slightly, waiting. Part 8. I don't remember writing this. The footsteps coming down the stairs were lighter, smaller, not heavy like the man standing in front of me. Each step slow, careful, almost hesitant. The man in my living room didn't move. For the first time since I'd seen him, his expression shifted. Not fear, not panic, uncertainty. There are always two, he had said. But now he looked like he wasn't sure who the second one was. The final step creaked. Silence. Then a voice. Soft. Young. Why didn't you turn around? My chest tightened so violently I thought I was in a blackout. The man in front of me stiffened. That wasn't his partner's voice. It wasn't an adult. It wasn't controlled. It was the same voice I heard at the shoreline. The same voice in the trees. The same one Halpern must have heard. Slowly, I turned my head toward the staircase. Not my body, just my eyes. A figure stood halfway down the stairs. Thin, damp clothes clinging to him. Hair hanging in wet strands over his forehead. Water dripping slowly onto the wooden steps. Each drop loud in the silence. But this wasn't a shadow. Wasn't distorted. Wasn't cinematic. It was a boy, about 15. And he looked normal. Too normal. Except for one detail. His skin had that pale, prune look you get after staying in water too long. The man in my living room whispered under his breath, "That's not possible." The boy tilted his head slightly. "You told him the same thing." The room temperature dropped. Not dramatically. Just enough that my breath became visible. I tried to stay logical. Someone else. Another participant. Another staged actor. But the man in front of me didn't look like he recognized him. And if this was all an organized network, why would he look confused? The deep web page upstairs began typing rapidly, faster than before. Unexpected variable detected. The man's jaw tightened. "Stay where you are," he said to me. He wasn't talking to the boy. He was talking to me, like I was still the subject, still the project. The boy took another step down. Water pooled beneath his bare feet. "You said I had to walk further," the boy said quietly. The man's calm composure cracked slightly. "That was years ago." The boy smiled faintly. "I'm still walking." My phone vibrated violently in my pocket, over and over. I pulled it out. The thread wasn't just on my computer anymore. It was on my phone, on my lock screen, on every app window. Red text on black. "We don't drown them. We replace them." The boy's eyes shifted toward me. "You moved into my room." My stomach dropped. "You're Evan," I whispered. He didn't nod, didn't confirm it. He just kept walking down the stairs. Step by step, the man in the living room backed up slightly. This wasn't part of the script, not part of the network, not part of the archive. "Who are you?" the man demanded. The boy ignored him. He reached the bottom step, now standing only a few feet behind me. I could smell lake water again. Strong. Fresh. The man glanced toward the door. Just for a second. Calculating. Escape. The deep web thread updated again. Cycle disruption. Archive integrity compromised. The man cursed under his breath. "You shouldn't have interfered," he muttered. The boy tilted his head. "You shouldn't have told me to turn around." Silence swallowed the room. The man lunged suddenly. Not toward me. Toward the boy. Fast. Desperate. His hand passed through him. Not dramatically. Not violently. Just through. Like mist. The man stumbled forward. Fell to one knee. Breathing hard. "That's not real," he whispered. The boy looked at him calmly. "You recorded everything," he said. "You archived it." The deep web thread began flooding with old posts. Years of logs. Timestamps. Usernames. Coordinates. Victim notes. Observations. All scrolling uncontrollably. And then, new text appeared. Different from before. Not clinical. Not detached. Personal. You wanted authenticity. This is what you recorded. The man scrambled to his feet, ran toward the front door, pulled it open, but the outside wasn't the street anymore. It was the lake, black water stretching into darkness. He stepped back immediately, slamming the door shut. "That's not possible," he kept repeating. But it wasn't theatrical. It wasn't dramatic. It felt wrong in a subtle way, like reality had shifted just a few inches off alignment. The boy looked at me again. "You didn't turn around," he said softly. "I know. That's why you're still here." The man grabbed a kitchen knife, pointed it toward the boy, his hand shaking. "You're not real," he said again. The boy's expression didn't change. "You replaced me," he said calmly. The thread updated again. Replacement denied. The knife clattered to the floor. The man looked at the ceiling, at the vents, at the walls, as if realizing something. "You're not with us," he whispered. The boy finally smiled. Small, cold. I never was. The lights flickered, not violently, just once. When they stabilized, the man was gone, not vanished dramatically, not sucked into darkness, just not there anymore, like he had never been in the room. The front door was closed, the kitchen normal, no lake beyond it, the house quiet. The deep web page upstairs stopped scrolling. One final line appeared. Cycle complete. The boy stood in front of me, water still dripping, but slower now, less visible. You won't stay, he said quietly. I don't want to. You won't remember it the way it happened. My heart pounded. What do you mean? He looked toward my bedroom. You'll remember writing about it. A chill ran down my spine. Writing? The thread updated again. First-person narration required. The boy's outline began to blur slightly. Not fade, just soften. You clicked, he said gently. You invited it. The network? He shook his head slowly. No, the water. Silence filled the house. I turned toward the staircase. The bedroom light was still on, the monitor glowing red. When I looked back, the boy was gone. No puddle, no footprints, no damp smell, just dry wood, dry air, normal temperature. My phone screen went dark, completely black. I rushed upstairs. My bedroom looked untouched. Closet closed, vent intact. No camera in the wall, no drilled holes, no blinking LEDs. I pulled the vent cover down. Nothing inside. Drywall solid, untouched. My desk was clean. Coffee mug upright. No spill. The deep web page wasn't open. Just a blank document on my screen. A text file. Title: NoSleep _AP 20 draft TXT. My hands trembled as I scrolled. It was everything. Every detail. 2:07 a.m. The dragging sound. The thread. 3:17 a.m. 3:33 a.m. The lake. Halpern. The man. The boy. All written in first person. Exactly the way it happened. Or the way I thought it happened. The cursor blinked at the bottom of the page. Waiting. The clock on my computer read 2:06 a.m. 1 minute before everything started. My phone buzzed softly. One notification. From a private forum I didn't remember joining. Thread title: We found you. No replies. No views. Just my username listed as the author. I stared at the blank line at the bottom of the document. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I don't remember typing what came next, but when I looked down, the final sentence was already there.